Inside the Gene Hackman tunnel mystery, the story behind the viral claim when Gene Hackman was found dead inside his Santa Fe home in February 2025, the circumstances were already disturbing. The legendary actor was 95 years old. His wife, Betsy Arakawa, was found dead inside the same property. One of their dogs had also died. And because the couple had lived an intensely private life, almost completely away from Hollywood, the story immediately attracted enormous attention. But within days, something even stranger began circulating online. Videos started claiming that investigators had discovered a secret tunnel beneath Gene Hackman's home, and the deeper the story went, the more unbelievable it became. Some versions claimed the tunnel contained mysterious documents, others described underground chambers, hidden passageways and strange objects, and the most extreme version claimed that investigators had discovered hundreds of human remains beneath the actor's property. The number repeated throughout the viral story was 701. But there was one problem: almost none of it was real. So where did the story come from? And why did so many people believe it? Let's go back to the beginning. On February 26, 2025, Gene Hackman and Betsy Arakawa were discovered dead at their home in Santa Fe, New Mexico. The discovery immediately created questions. Arakawa was found in a bathroom. Hackman was found in another part of the house. Their deaths appeared unusual enough that investigators initially treated the scene as suspicious and conducted a thorough investigation. At first, even authorities didn't know exactly what had happened. There was no obvious explanation for why two people living in the same home had died days apart, and that uncertainty created the perfect environment for speculation. Then investigators began reconstructing their final days. Betsy Arakawa had apparently become ill before her death. Records showed that she had been searching for information about symptoms including flu-like illness and breathing problems. She also contacted a medical service shortly before she died. Eventually, the medical examiner reached a devastating conclusion. Arakawa had died from hantavirus pulmonary syndrome, a rare disease associated with exposure to infected rodents, and the Hackman property had evidence of a serious rodent infestation. That detail was real, but it would soon become mixed with something that wasn't. Hackman's death was determined to have been caused by severe cardiovascular disease. His advanced Alzheimer's disease was also identified as a contributing factor. Investigators concluded that Hackman probably died about a week after his wife. That meant the actor may have spent days inside the house without fully understanding that Betsy was already dead. It was tragic, it was disturbing, and it was completely different from the conspiracy story that was beginning to spread online. Because while legitimate news organizations were reporting on the investigation, YouTube channels began producing dramatically different versions of what supposedly happened. One of those videos claimed that the FBI had discovered a secret underground tunnel beneath Hackman's mansion, and then came the most sensational part. The tunnel supposedly contained hundreds of bodies. 701, according to the viral claim. The story was designed perfectly for the internet. A legendary Hollywood actor, a secluded mansion, 2 unexplained deaths, an FBI investigation, a secret tunnel, and hundreds of bodies hidden underground. It sounded like a Hollywood thriller. But investigators and fact-checkers found no evidence that the tunnel existed in the way the viral videos described. There was no credible report confirming that the FBI discovered an underground chamber beneath Hackman's home. There was no credible evidence of 701 bodies, and no legitimate news organization reported such a discovery. Fact-checkers traced the claim back to sensational online content rather than official investigative records. In other words, the mystery wasn't discovered by investigators, it was created by the internet. And that is where this story gets particularly interesting, because the fake tunnel story didn't appear in isolation. It became part of a larger online formula. Take a famous person, place them in a mysterious or tragic situation, claim that authorities discovered something hidden beneath their home, add an enormous secret, then end the title with something like, "They couldn't believe what they found." The same basic formula has been used repeatedly with other celebrities. And investigators looking into these stories have found that the supposed tunnel images can be reused across completely unrelated videos. A tunnel shown in one celebrity story can suddenly appear in another. The name changes, the mansion changes, the story changes, but the imagery remains almost identical. That is one of the biggest clues that the Gene Hackman tunnel story was never based on an actual FBI discovery. It was based on a viral storytelling template. But there is an important reason the story was so convincing. The real Gene Hackman case genuinely contained strange details. The couple lived an extremely private life. They were discovered days after their deaths. There was a rodent infestation on the property. One dog died while 2 others survived. Hackman's pacemaker helped investigators establish when he likely died, and because of his advanced Alzheimer's disease, investigators believed he may not have realized that his wife had died. All of those details sound like pieces of a mystery movie, but they're real. And when real facts are mixed with invented details, the entire story can become difficult to separate. That's exactly what happened here. The real investigation was already fascinating enough. Hackman was one of Hollywood's most recognizable actors, known for films including The French Connection and Unforgiven, yet after retiring from acting, he largely disappeared from public life. He and Arakawa lived quietly in Santa Fe. There were no constant red carpet appearances, no regular interviews, no Hollywood parties, no public explanation of what their daily life looked like. That privacy made the final chapter of Hackman's life feel almost unreal. And when the couple died, the lack of information created a vacuum. The internet immediately filled it. Within that vacuum, ordinary details became clues. The secluded property became suspicious. The investigation became an FBI operation in people's retellings. The rodent infestation became evidence of something darker, and eventually an imaginary tunnel appeared beneath the house. But perhaps the most revealing detail is the number 701. Why 701? There is no credible evidence that investigators discovered 701 bodies. The number appears to have come from the viral story itself. Once repeated enough times, however, a fabricated detail can begin to look like an established fact. One website repeats it, a YouTube video repeats it, a social media post repeats the video, another channel repeats the social media post. Soon, dozens of pages appear to be confirming the same story, but they're not independent sources. They're all repeating the same original claim. And that's how an internet rumor can manufacture its own appearance of credibility. The Gene Hackman tunnel mystery is therefore less about what was supposedly found beneath his home, and more about how easily the internet can create something that appears to have been found. The actual investigation ultimately pointed toward a tragic combination of illness, age, isolation, and circumstance. Betsy Arakawa died first from hantavirus pulmonary syndrome. Gene Hackman died approximately a week later from heart disease, with Alzheimer's disease contributing to his condition. Authorities found no evidence of foul play, and the dramatic tunnel narrative has never been substantiated. That doesn't mean the real story isn't mysterious. In fact, the truth is arguably more haunting. Imagine living in a secluded home for decades. Imagine becoming increasingly dependent on the person closest to you. Then imagine that person becoming seriously ill without anyone outside the house realizing what is happening. Arakawa became sick. She sought information. She attempted to contact medical professionals, and eventually, she died. Hackman remained alive. But his health was deteriorating, and his Alzheimer's disease was advanced. He may not have understood what had happened. For days, the outside world had no idea. The couple's isolation had become almost complete, and eventually, a worker who came to the property realized that something was terribly wrong. That is the real mystery. Not a secret tunnel, not 701 bodies, not an underground government facility, but how two people who had once lived in the center of Hollywood could become so isolated that their deaths went undiscovered for days. And perhaps that's why the fake tunnel story spread so quickly. People wanted another explanation, something bigger, something darker, something that matched the atmosphere surrounding the case. A secret passage underneath a Hollywood legend's mansion sounds like a movie, but the real ending was much more human. There was no confirmed conspiracy, no evidence of a hidden underground cemetery, no verified FBI discovery beneath the property. Instead, there was an elderly man suffering from serious heart disease and advanced Alzheimer's, a woman who died from a rare infection, a home affected by rodent infestation, and a tragic period of isolation that nobody outside the house recognized in time. So the next time you see the headline, FBI discovers secret tunnel under Gene Hackman's mansion, remember the question that matters most, not what did they find, but who says they found it. Because sometimes the most shocking part of an internet mystery isn't the secret hidden underground, it's how easily the internet can convince millions of people that the secret was ever there in the first place.